Well, welcome back to the Hotel Orloff. We're up here on the 14th floor where we have the comic book and magazine archives, all part of the Museum of Popular Culture that we have here in Rural Retreat, Virginia. So, once again, we're brought to you on this bright, sunny Sunday afternoon, September 10th, 2023, in the year of our Lord. Brought to you in living color on the Gratu Orloff Inspirational Network. And still going through magazines. I got a lot of them organized. It's looking a lot better. It's just in the move, when we moved, which was about a year and a half ago. Yeah, about a little less than a year and a half ago. A lot of magazines were just, it became very disorganized. Moving is quite a task when you have a huge collection. Let's see what we find in this box here. Okay. Oh, here's some of this. This is a French magazine called Mad Movies, and I just put some of these in another box, so I need to find that box in the other room and put these with the others. Actually, I'm pretty sure, you know that magazine Cinefantastique? I just pulled out a box of that. I think this might have been the precursor to Cinefantastique, which I guess like heavy metal started as a French magazine, possibly. I always loved the poster to Young Frankenstein. But anyway, this might be the early version of it. This is in French, so no normal person can read this. It's only French people can read it. I mean, not that they're not normal. But you have lots of great photographs, like there's Bela Lugosi and Myrna Loy as Fu Manchu and his daughter, and all kinds of nice stuff. But it's not something that you can read. There's the Tales from the Crypt ad map. So anyway, this is number 11. This one's 13. I'll pull these out of the box and I'll find where they belong before this episode's over. 13. So how did I get a French magazine? And you're that's what I was looking for. Is when did this come out? 1976. And it with issue 14, it stops looking as much like a fanzine. It starts to look a little bit more professional. Obviously, this is a Godzilla issue. Again, I must start this episode with a cautionary warning, which is this. Things are not, as you know, the economy is not very good right now. And there's a very good chance it could get a lot worse, or who knows what could happen over the next few months. There's a lot of speculation that things could get quite bad. So my advice to you is, if you see things that you like, they're still going to be there in 6 months or a year, in 2024, 2025. Wait it out. Make sure you got plenty of food and water, rice, whatever it is. Make sure you're stocked up and taken care of. Don't be buying. This is not, although the prices are going down on comics, there's a reason for that. People can't afford to eat. So unless you're just super wealthy and secure, which some of you are. But I'm showing you things that I got 10, 15, 20, in some cases 50 years ago, because I'm 58 and I've been collecting since I was a zygote. But you know, I've got stuff in here that I bought when I was 4. So this is not the time to be stocking up on comics, and I am not going to be showing. I'm not trying to be judgmental. Look at that wonderful poster. But If you're very wealthy and you're buying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of comic books every month, maybe show them on your show, but don't talk about, I just got this. It was only $4,000. What a deal. Because to me, it's almost like you're Marie Antoinette saying, oh, look at this cake I just baked. Isn't it wonderful? To people out here that aren't doing well. Because, despite the fact that the Hotel Orloff looks lavish, it didn't cost us much money, and we paid with cash because I sold a house back in Texas, and houses are cheaper here. So you may think I'm some wealthy guy. I'm not. It's like we have to figure out, okay, how is $80 going to last us this week? How exactly are we going to, Drew, don't do that. How are we going to survive on that? So when you're showing off, it's like I don't have to watch your channel, I realize that. But to me, it's like just maybe just play it cool and just say, look, I've had this book for years. I really love it. Just lie and say you've had it for years. Don't say you just bought it, because look, I don't know. Do what you want to do, man. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. I can't tell you who to sock it to. I don't know. It's just a little ostentatious, man. Right now, this is one of the greatest movies of all time, Ship of Monsters. You can watch this whole movie on YouTube. We discovered this back in the 90s, Joe Riley and myself, and we put little scenes from this in the second episode of The Hypnotic Eye. Hypnotic Eye is a show you can see on... Actually, someone's put it up on YouTube. It used to be on YouTube, and YouTube took it down. Someone's put up, I think, the whole series of The Hypnotic Eye. You can look for it on YouTube. But there's also Roku apps that are just devoted to it. And there's one really cool one called OS 74 that has all of them. But this one's about Mexican movies. So they were ahead of the trend. Most of us didn't discover these Mexican movies till like the late 80s or early 90s. The Mummies of Guanajuato. All these Mexican wrestlers fighting against... This is June 1980. Yeah, I don't know that this is the same as Cinefantastique, because by 1980, that American... and Cinefantastique was like the ultimate... No one talks about Cinefantastique, but that was like the ultimate in movie magazines about science fiction and horror. They were really... that was a really sophisticated... Drew, what are you eating? Drew, you want some food? Let's go feed Drew. Drew is obviously hungry. She comes up and starts licking everything. It's like, which one was that? That was, Pink Flamingos, right? Where they sneak into someone's house and lick everything in their house. And then when the couple comes back to the house, everything they licked rejects them, so they lick their couch. When they sit on the couch throws them out of the couch. That's from The Twisted Mind of John Waters. So, I think that was it Divine and her son that were licking everything? Or was it the other couple? I don't remember. They're, these two couples are having a war as far as who is the most filthy people alive on the planet Earth. That's okay. We're gonna. This is right now. I've got on the show from the other night. This is the Four Color Fossils show from Wednesday night, which you should watch. Mike McCarthy was a guest on there, and all kinds of other connoisseurs of the comic book forum. Drew, you got food here. What? How dare you, man? I need to go buy her some more food as soon as I finish this show, though. It is apparent that this is her last... Ooh, this is a good camera angle up here, isn't it? You get the whole span of the lobby of the Hotel Orloff. She likes this Julius Caesar food. All right, so... This is Drew the dog. Yeah, Drew the dog, ladies and gentlemen. And this is Big Lou and Great Garloo and Superman. Okay, back to the magazines. Okay. You know what I'm really scared of, though, is climate change. Isn't that just an existential threat to our democracy? It's really scary, you know. Climate change. I lay up all night worrying about climate change. Or you can worry about people that will create man-made natural disasters and blame it on climate change. I'm still trying to find the Madpeck book. It's not in there. So I look in these bookshelves, see these cabinets, I'm using them for books. Is the Madpeck book in here? Man. The other night, on that show, on Wednesday night, the Full Color Fossil show, Mike McCarthy was asking about the Madpeck, the cartoonist, the Madpeck, and I said, I've got a whole book of his work, but I can't find it. I remember, and I could be wrong, but I remember it has a blue spine. Oh, there's an Uncle Scrooge book. Man. There's a book about John Wayne's The Alamo movie. Okay, what are these here? What is this? No. There's a collection of Elvira comics. Come on, Madpeck. Air Fighters Classics. I'm going to find it, but I have a feeling this is something that's going to take me a long time to find. Long time. Oh, someone was asking about omnibuses or omnibuy. Actually, the morons that collect these things call the plural is apparently supposed to be omnibus. I have a lot of omnibus, but to me, it should be omnibuy. All right, so let's sit in here. Maybe the Madpeck book will be in here. Who knows? Well, I see some Gahan Wilson books. This is my omnibus collection. It's not very big. You know, I'm not, what is it, Jim Mint Collectibles that has like a whole wall of them. And I got the first like 50 issues of The Amazing Spider-Man, the first 2 volumes of Fantastic Four, the first Hulk, John Carter, Warlord of Mars. Even though I have all the original comics, I got that real cheap because no one wanted it but me. Women of Marvel, and that's it. What else is here? Oh, this is an old sketchbook from like the 1980s. Yeah, this is some. Let's see, we need light here. This is something I drew way back in the old days. Probably I would 1985. That was a long time ago. Boy, some of this stuff is pretty extreme. My goodness. Yeah. Back in the 80s. I haven't seen this book in years. Well, at least now I know where it is. I'm sorry, my hair looks terrible. Look at the hairs. I just got out of the shower. What is this? Giant size Marvel. I've got stuff I don't even know I have. Do you ever get surprised? It's like, when did I buy that? I don't remember owning this. That's the problem. If you don't look at your books enough, you're doomed to buy them over and over again, and then you have doubles and triplicates of something because you didn't know any better. Oh, wait. Maybe Madpeck's here. I'm trying to look beyond Betty Davis here. I see two. There's a Hawkman from the 60s, Black Angel. Oh, there's the Tony Tallarico book I'm always making fun of. Oh, maybe it's there. Oh, is it going to be here? Ah, my goodness, look what we found. There's this Dick Tracy book that a fellow teacher gave to me. It's actually a very valuable book. There's a picture of my mother. There's the Lone Ranger. And look what we have here. It didn't take me very long, just half a week. But here is the Madpeck Studios book, a 20-year retrospective. Let's go look at this book, ladies and gentlemen. Now that we got Drew out of her hair. Not that Drew's a pest, she just wants attention. But she always wants attention right when I'm filming. Oh, let me go comb my hair. All right. Yes, indeed. I'm so glad I found that, man. I was thinking. Sometimes things are missing. You know, there's no way someone stole that. No one's going to steal a Madpeck book. People don't even know what that is. Anyway. Oh, this is a cool. When I turn on the lights, this looks pretty cool up here. You see that? Look at that. Quite a display. Okay. Yeah. Wash the dog food juice off my. This bathroom is always decorated like it's Christmas. One bathroom in your house should always be a Christmas bathroom. Don't you think so? I agree with you. Okay. The Madpeck. I'm so glad I found that. Anyway, we were having a discussion the other night. Let me show you what we were talking about. There's a book that all normal comic collectors treasure and value. It's a book called Comics by Les Daniels. And I think Les Daniels later wrote a book on the retrospective book on Marvel history. But one of my favorite books on comics is called Comics, C-O-M-I-X. And I'm trying to find it here. That'll be another rabbit hole for me to find. This would be interesting if Mike McCarthy's watching this. See this 1955 book here? This has... This is a yearbook and it has Buddy Holly's photograph in it. That's from the Lubbock High School. I found that at a used bookstore for, I think, $20. It seems like Comics by Les Daniels. There it is. Let me pull this book too. Now, even though the world's basically on fire, I'm going to go ahead and tell you not to buy comic books and to be conservative right now with your money. I'm trying to be. I mean, I've got stuff on hold with Gotham City Comics, and I try to spend about $75 a month or maybe a little more to pick up what I have a giant stack on hold with him. He's so nice. And Jambo showed a book yesterday. I'm hoping it's $75. The first appearance of the Defenders. I like to get that from him. So I'm breaking my own rule as well. But I'm just saying, be cool with your money, unless you just got lots of money under the mattress. But if you see this book, buy it, because you won't see it very often. And even though the world's about to, eventually things will get better. I mean, I think everyone's awakened to. It may be a long time before a Democrat gets elected again. I don't know. Unless people have just lost their minds. If they think the last 3 years have been fun, I don't know. Anyway, this is a book, The History of Comic Books in America. It's by Les Daniels, and the graphics are by Madpeck Studios. So basically the layout of this book, this artwork here is by the Madpeck. And who is the Madpeck? It's kind of like, Big Daddy Roth or Stanley Mouse. It's just a name for someone that I think the Mad Peck designed, maybe underground flyers. He did stuff for underground comics. He was just kind of one of those underground kind of hippie types. He's taken this old ad from the back of comic books and magazines, and he's made it into the back cover promoting comics. And this book is very well written. It goes to the whole history of comics. It shows you EC Comics. This is from Mad, an early issue of Mad. It goes to the whole, shows you funny animal comics. It has a color section in here too. There it is. So this was a way that, I ordered this from Heroes World that used to advertise in comics with those Joe Kubert Studios ads. They have a Fantastic Four story. They have all kinds of stuff in here. They have a section in the back about underground comics. They go through the Warren Comics Revolution too. They show the Steranko period. They even have the complete text of the comics code. Oh, and this is one of the great Wally Wood stories from Warren. It has here's the whole comics code standards that you had to meet in order to get that little stamp on the top of your comic. General standard. I could read the whole thing to you sometime. If you want me to, I'll read the whole thing. I think I did it before a couple years ago. But let's just take it here. General standards, Part B. Number 1, no comic magazine shall use the word horror or terror in its title. 2, all scenes of horror, excessive bloodshed, gory or gruesome crimes, depravity, lust, sadism, masochism shall not be permitted. 3, all lurid, unsavory, gruesome illustrations shall be eliminated. And it goes on. Profanity, obscenity, smut, vulgarity, or words or symbols which have acquired undesirable meanings are forbidden. In every instance, good shall triumph over evil, and the criminal shall be punished for his misdeeds. Scenes of excessive violence shall be prohibited. It goes on and on. The first thing it says, at the very beginning, comics shall never be presented in such a way as to create sympathy for the criminal, to promote distrust of the forces of law and justice, or to inspire others with a desire to imitate criminals. Anyway, this is the great book, Comics. And what Mike McCarthy was telling me Wednesday night on the episode before last was that when he got this book, he was wondering, who is this Mad Peck? And I was wondering the same thing. And then this book came out, I would assume this came out in the 80s. Let's take a look. 87. Yeah, I found this book, and it reprints kind of stuff. He used to put these ads in underground comics. There were ads for hippie paraphernalia, but he would design them in a, really, old style, nostalgic way. But he'd use old ad art, it's a parody of the Untouchables, the Unthinkables. It's got Plastic Man and Wizzy Winks, and there's Wonder Warthog. It was here's a advertisement for one of those radio stations. Turn on at midnight, Friday nights with Al Eraser. So, there it shows how he worked on this book, Comics. It's just a retrospective of his whole 20-year career from 67 to 87. I don't know much about him now. Whether it seems like that ad there, the Martian with the EC shirt, I could have sworn that was in the Monster Times. I'm going to put this book right next to this book on the shelf because to me they belong together. And I need to go back and rewatch that. There was during the show the other night, I went off camera for about 5 minutes looking at all the bookshelves trying to find the Mad Peck book, and so I missed about 5 minutes of comics being shown, and I need to go back and see what I missed. So you need to as well if you haven't watched that show yet. It's really a great episode. Hold on. Things are starting to get a little more organized here. Starting to get a little happier. Things that I thought were missing, like I really thought this book, this Silver Surfer book, was lost, and I was panicking about a year and a few months ago about all the things I couldn't find. But yeah, like my wife had gotten a CPAP machine, for people that snore, like a machine that helps you put on to help you breathe at night. And then the thing got recalled, and because it was like really bad for your health, it turns out, and so there was some weird insurance thing where it was like, well, we got to return the machine to get it, where she doesn't owe any money on it anymore, and I couldn't find it, and it turns out that there was a box that this inflatable swimming pool had come in, and my mother-in-law, when we were packing at the old place, had put that CPAP machine into that box just because it was a perfect fit. And I saw this box that said inflatable. I never would have thought the CPAP machine was in that. Anyway, I finally found it, and I returned it to the people, so they should be getting that. They should have gotten it last week. Okay, what else we got here? Oh, wow. Look at this. Monster Madness. This was, I need to put this with the Marvel black and white magazines. Or should I? Should I keep it with the Monster magazines? Yeah, I guess I'll keep it here. It's Stan Lee putting words with these, you don't really have to, it's like a monster magazine. Sinister Stan Lee. He should have used that name all the time. These are actually funnier than you'd think they would be. But it's a real easy magazine to put together because you just have a 2-page spread with one photograph, and then you just have to come up with 4 or 5 words. It's a lot easier than putting together like a Famous Monsters of Filmland where you have to write articles. Oh, here's one of my favorite photographs from Monster of Piedras Blancas. He's saying, "Alas, poor Yorick." Yes, Monster Madness. Yeah, I just found this box. It's got all kinds of cool stuff in it. Oh, yeah. Oh, here's Hull Rider. I should put this in there with the, yeah, I know where I should put this. This is from Skywald Publications. This is a, light's not right, man. Anyway, this is a pretty valuable book now because it's from the same guy that created the Ghost Rider later, and people say, well, this is his prototype for the Ghost Rider, even though it's the only thing really they'll like is that he's on a motorcycle. But it's one of those black and white Warren-looking magazines. It's a great magazine. It's from the same company that put out Nightmare and Psycho. So I need to get this magazine in the other room with my Nightmare and Psycho magazines. Look at this double-page spread. I guess the thing is, nobody's doing shows anymore, man. A lot of people are doing comic shows. Nope. When I say nobody's doing shows, the people I like aren't doing many shows. They're doing one show every 3 weeks, or once a week. And the people that are doing comic shows are like showing these books that are all encased in plastic, and they don't have any stories to tell about the books. This isn't a book they got when they were 5, 6, 10 years old. It's just a book they got. It was already encased in plastic when they got it. They've never seen the inside of the box, the inside of the book. They'll say, well, I read my books online. I don't think they ever go, they're not ever going and reading those books online. They say they do, but I was watching one guy and he admitted, yeah, well, most of us don't read all our books. No, that's just not the way it is with some of us. I think the people that I hang out with here on the internet. So there's people that approach this hobby, and it's just like collecting stamps or baseball cards or bugs that you collect and pin to something or other. I don't know. It's like, oh, this is this. It's got the first appearance of blah blah blah. I just paid $4,000 for this. Oh, look at this. And it's like, and that's what people love, because they have a lot more subscribers than me. But on this channel, I'll show you stuff that I've had for years and that I really love. And oh my gosh, what do we got here? Oh wow. This is from the 60s. This is Larry Ivy's Monsters and Heroes. Look at this. He gives you like a book cover you can put on your copy of At the Earth's Core. You can put that over, you can fold this over your At the Earth's Core. There's the spine, and that's the inner leaf. Obviously, this is for, I guess you'd have to buy 2 copies of the magazine, and that would be the back cover. So you'd have your own, he's designing, this guy's so into this culture, he's designing an alternate book cover to put on your hardcover Edgar Rice Burroughs book. That's the kind of love for comics that I like. Larry Ivy. Look at these I don't like using the cosplay. Look at these guys from a convention from years ago dressed up like characters. This is the Blue Beetle. I'm not laughing like it's bad. I would rather see a Blue Beetle movie with that guy than what just came out. That what just came out looked like nothing. I've never read any Blue Beetle comics where they have this Guyver looking suit. I know what the Blue Beetle looked like in the 40s, in the Golden Age. I know what the Blue Beetle looked like from the 60s with Charlton, but I don't know this modern stuff. I don't read the modern stuff. And I don't say that to brag. Or maybe I do. I don't know. It just... oh, it's a history of the Comic Con. This is a great thing, man. When is this from? When magazines cost 35 cents. Let's see. Let's take a look and see. I'm guessing it's from 1967. That's a good guess, huh? Where's the date? There it is. No, it isn't. Oh well. I'm guessing, yeah, it's about 66, 67. Come on. When guys look like that, it's definitely about 66. Yeah, I've got some of these. I just said yeah. Oh boy, what you guys do to me. I watch your YouTube channels and I start talking like you, man. But yeah, so yeah, I hate that. Okay, this is number 6, the next issue. This time they give you a book cover for A Princess of Mars. Special issue on John Carter. Article on Al Williamson. Let's see if they give us a date in this issue. Maybe they realized, hey, we really should have... Oh, this has I remember this article. There's a great article on the Tharks. Shows you what their skulls look like. I mean, this guy is getting way into Edgar Rice Burroughs. This is the kind of stuff I like. Like, look at how they've depicted the Tharks. And I think this is the way that in DC Comics they did it. You see the Tharks have 4 arms, and sometimes you'll see artists draw 4 arms on a single torso. This one, like, there's a torso, and then where the neck should be, the other torso starts. And you know, the Martians, the Tharks, were like 15 feet tall, and that's a Martian horse called a thoat. And they have they don't have hooves. They have like cat-like padded feet, so you don't hear the horses coming up on you. You don't hear the clatter of hooves. If you get into Once you get into Edgar Rice Burroughs, if you fall down that, I hate to use this cliche, if you fall down that rabbit hole, it's a good rabbit hole to fall down. I recommend it. Flash Gordon, of course, is a descendant in spirit of John Carter. Anytime you look at the map of Mongo, anytime you've got a hero that has a ray gun and a sword and fights with both, it goes back to John Carter. And John Carter, that should be a red cape. He had a red cape. So even Superman owes a lot to Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter. Okay, so I thought I had some more issues of Monsters and Heroes. Maybe I only have 2. That means I should get more. This magazine's a great one. I think the reprints of this you can get from Guandanaland. It's a beautiful color magazine. It's got slick paper. I mean, it was... hold on. This one's open. So we'll look at this one. Oh, and this one's got an autograph. It's appropriate because what was 2 days ago was Star Trek Day. And look at that. Autograph from D.C. Fontana, one of the big writers of Star Trek and the cartoon Star Trek. And I think she came back for the Next Generation. It says, Jackie, may the force be with you, D.C. Fontana. Okay, so this was not an autograph from the 60s. This was autographed, obviously, right after Star Wars came out. It's the first issue of Fantastic Monsters of the Films. Obviously, it's made to be like Famous Monsters of Filmland, but it's got, you know, some color, and it's got some short stories in it. It's the Monster of the Month. What I remember about this magazine, oh my gosh, look at the stuff you could order. The great thing about this book is, I'll show you. There was a circle of friends that hung around together. And see, Ron Haydock was the editor. Ron Haydock was, if you ever see the movie Rat Fink a Boo Boo, he played Rat Fink, which is basically a Batman parody. He was a rockabilly musician. He was a rock and roll musician, Ron Haydock. And the editorial director is Paul Blaisdell. Paul Blaisdell designed Monsters for AIP, so like, he built that. He built a lot of the monsters you see in those old movies, right? Bob Burns is the research editor. Bob Burns is, I think he's still alive, had one of the greatest, I would say on par with Forrest Ackerman. He had a time machine, you know, from the George Powell movie. And Bob Burns, a lot of times, well, you see Bob, the original Ghostbusters, the Saturday morning Ghostbusters from Filmation, the one that had real people in it, the Larry Storch and Forrest Tucker, and then Bob Burns played Tracy the ape, right? Bob Burns was always wearing gorilla suits. He's a real nice guy. I shouldn't talk about him in past tense. I don't know if he's still around with us. But Bob Burns, and then Jim Harmon, associate editor. This is like a group in, I think they're probably all in LA, that hung around together that were comic and horror fans. And they put this magazine together, which is a very slick magazine. And I think they were friends with Robert Bloch also, that wrote Psycho. And man, look at this voodoo doll you could get. Yeah, this is a monster magazine that's not like anything else. See, here they're selling pictures of Hollywood monsters that were all designed by Blaisdell. See, so all he had to really do was go in his garage and take pictures of the monsters that he still had out there. I don't know if there's ever been. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll give you Christopher Reeve was like a perfect casting for Superman. But as far as a perfect casting for a superhero, Buster Crabbe looked exactly like Al Williamson drew him. And of course, there was later a 1950s TV show where Steve Holland played Flash Gordon. And Steve Holland is the guy. If you look at this guy and imagine him with a few more lines in his face, in the 60s and 70s, he posed for all those Doc Savage paperback covers. So he later became Doc Savage in a sense. Oh my gosh, look what we got here. Best Wishes, Buster Crabbe. It's got an autograph from Buster Crabbe in it. Yeah, so this one was taken to a convention, and wherever I bought it at half-price books, I don't think they realized. And if I look a little bit harder, maybe I'll find someone else's autograph in here. But it's got Buster Crabbe, and I love Buster Crabbe. I didn't realize I owned a Buster Crabbe autograph. Or do I? Yeah, I don't know. Well, Buster Crabbe was around. Remember, he did a guest appearance in an episode of Buck Rogers, the 70s, Disco Buck Rogers. Well, that's a really thrilling thing. But I found a Buster Crabbe autograph. There's some issues of Scary Monsters. Okay, well, when we last left off, we were looking at Comics Journal. So let's do that. I've got a lot of filing to do here. I'm not going to be doing episodes as often as I have been, which is probably a good thing. Oh, my battery's getting low. I better plug you guys in. Because I pretty much got a full schedule now, back to work, and maybe I'll appear on Wednesday night on the Four Color Fossils, and I'll maybe try to do 1 or 2 episodes a week. Usually it'll probably have to be on a weekend, like this is a Sunday afternoon. Okay, fantastic. Trying to keep from having this light behind me. All right. Wow, that was cool finding a Buster Crabbe autograph. Okay, Comics Journal was amazing, and we left off somewhere. This is 1980 summer special. It's got a John Byrne special here. The shadow on the back cover. It was a thick magazine, and it was a lot of reading, and it really taught you about the comic industry and all that, and just a lot of reading. Oh, look, someone's selling homemade ray guns. Look at that. Oh, this is when, yeah, I remember I was talking about this last time. This is when they talked to Steve Gerber, creator of Howard the Duck, and they talked to him about about the lawsuit. And he also created Stuart the Rat, how Howard the Duck had to put on pants because of that lawsuit from Disney. They would have long interviews that were, here's an interview with John Byrne, long interviews that went into great detail. And of course, some of these interviews are legendary. There's a whole bunch of Harlan Ellison letters. Some of them are legendary because, like the Jack Kirby interview is very famous because he basically said Stan Lee never wrote any of that, any of it, you know. And his wife was there agreeing with him, and it's like that's become a big. These are not in order in any sense. That was 57. This is okay. These are out of order. Here's 50. Here's Red Sonja with one of the elves from ElfQuest. I never really read ElfQuest. How is ElfQuest? Tell me down below. Here's oh wow. I don't think Nixon was as bad as we've been told, because everything we've been told is a lie. Look at this, the Comic Arts Gallery, which is where? New York, New York. Displays of original art, back issues at sale prices. Oh, look at this, plus the best in pinball. It's a place you could go and buy comics and play pinball. I can tell automatically that they understand. We keep a complete stock of books and periodicals related to comic art, science fiction, and fantasy, fanzines and books. Okay, the thing is, as I was saying the other day, there's rock and roll culture, and basically rock and roll culture are the things that parents and teachers tend to not approve of, and that's comic books, rock and roll records, pinball, just it's basically, to me, rock and roll culture is kid culture from another time period. And so I've always been fascinated with the kid culture from the 20th century, maybe cutting off about in the 1980s. I just because I've always been fascinated with obviously the time when I was a kid and the time before, you know, when my older brothers were kids, and the time when my parents were kids, and even before they were born. That's fascinating to me. But at a certain point, you know, when I went to college, things became less interesting to me. It's like, am I ever going to be interested in Pogs? No. Am I ever going to be interested in, I don't know. I mean, maybe someone could convince me Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original comics, are good. I remember picking up, probably around this time that this came out, the original first issue that's worth thousands now of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was there on the rack at Lone Star Comics. I think I have a memory of picking it up and putting it back on the shelf saying, that's not for me. Of course, I was in college, you know, so what can I say? Oh, that whole group of fans that I was showing put out that Fantastic Monsters of the Films. There was another one, a part of that group named Calvin Beck, and he put out his own monster magazine called Castle of Frankenstein. And the people in that group, Robert Bloch and Bob Burns, all those people, they were all science fiction writers or comic collectors. artist, whatever. Well, they all knew that Calvin Beck was a little strange. He was a great guy, but his mom was this clinging mom that wanted to go. If he was invited to a party, the mom wanted to go to the party. If he took a college class, she'd sit in the back of the class, just kind of auditing the class without, paying, not getting credit for the class, but just, she just would follow him everywhere. And so when Robert Bloch wrote the book Psycho, that the movie was based on, Robert Bloch and all the people in that circle of friends knew, and I'm sure Calvin Beck realized it too, that he based the Norman Bates character on his friend Calvin Beck. Although Calvin Beck wasn't a murderer and all that. And of course, the bit with him keeping the mother's corpse, that really came from Ed Gein. Then that was all over the news in Life magazine. That guy in Wisconsin, that was so. There were elements of Ed Gein in Norman Bates, but Norman Bates was more Calvin Beck, the editor, the guy that put out Castle of Frankenstein, which is one of the greatest magazines of all time, Castle of Frankenstein. If you ever see that somewhere, get it. Okay, this is the legendary issue where he goes after Michael Fleischer. And I think I got this I got recently back in the old country, back in Dallas for $2. That blue sticker means $2. I mean, it's not in great shape. It's a little dirty, but you can tell it's not a book that from originally from my collection. It's a little dirty. Anyway, let's get it out of this bag. So, this is the one where he insults Michael. Well, Michael Fleischer thought he was being insulted. Harlan Ellison claims it wasn't an insult to call him crazy. Man, can you make Jim Kirk look a little crazier there? What's he doing with his hand looking kind of Spider-Man, Steve Ditko like? This is an artist, Blyberg, 79. They would have amateur artists do art for this, and then a lot of them later became real, Dang, how the heck do you read this? It's so tiny. Well, I've got a magnifying glass, and I've got reading glasses, but this is Harlan Ellison waxing. I must say that Swamp Thing was dynamite. The art, the conception, the whole mythic overtone. Harlan Ellison was great. All of the mainstream comics are bland, useless garbage. I wonder what he'd say about the ones today. It's just this interview goes page after page with tiny print. It looks like this is a transcript of. I wonder how long they talked. This is what the great thing about the Comics Journal is. They talk for, and I need to read this again. This. I finally figured out how I see myself. I see myself as a cross between Jiminy Cricket and Zorro. That's me, man. Oh, man. Fantastic. Here they're reviewing the Christmas issue of Howard the Duck, the magazine. Looks like they don't like it. Yeah, this is when Time Warp was on the stands. Yeah, this book's got a little bit of, I see why they're selling it for a couple of bucks. I mean, it's got a little bit of, kind of on a few pages, a little moisture damage. Okay, well, fantastic. So that's 50, 53. That John Byrne issue was 57. Okay, they're all out of order. Okay. Here's 54. Around this time, Moon Knight was becoming a big thing. Out of my way, old timer. So it's at that time, Moon Knight was very much Marvel's Batman. They've since changed the character a bit. There's an interview with Marshall Rogers. Okay. The next issue has a big epic interview with Michael Fleischer. It's really a shame. Oh, and look at this. There's an answer. Neil Adams did this as an answer to that cover where he's saying, "Out of my way, old timer." And then Batman's saying, "Well, excuse me." Of course, that's a reference to Steve Martin on Saturday Night Live. You kind of have to be my age to get that joke. And someone says, "Hey, who is this guy? I don't know, but you notice he's copying Bill Sink." I've never said his name out loud. Bill Sienkiewicz's style. What a ripoff. So Neil Adams is saying that he's noticing that Bill Sienkiewicz is kind of aping his style a bit. But a lot of people copied Neil Adams' style. Oh yes, they're showing. Hopefully I should give a spoiler alert, but there was around this time they put out the final Jonah Hex story where it shows that after he died, and it shows him as an old man married to a Native American woman, and when he dies, they stuff him and put him in a traveling exhibit of gunfighters. But they talked to him about when he did the Spectre stories and how I still don't know how these were put in code-approved comics. Look how this axe is chopping up. This is more like something you'd see in a Warren magazine. How that got into a comic, stuff like this, where people are being cut in half by scissors and chopped up like that. So I remember this ad for Phil Seuling's comic book marketplace. It's a convention. These are just wonderfully fun magazines, and I was looking at what these cost, like on mycomicshop.com after I did the episode yesterday, and they're not, you can get them somewhat cheap, but the one there's a couple that are really high dollar. One is the one where they have the Dave Stevens interview, and he does the cover. That one, I saw someone selling it on eBay for $199, and someone's selling it for $300. And I've got that in here, unless it's magically disappeared like that All-Star 58 that I still can't find. But then I just found the Mad Peck book while we were, So, you never can tell. Things just appear. Here's 58. Let's see if there's anything notable to show you in that. Looks like they're talking to the heavy metal editor, Ted White. There's this artist, Fujitake. He did a lot of art for Comics Journal. I don't know if he ever made it to the big time or not. Might have. Just lots of reading in these books. '64. This was something I didn't like when the comics started. Some comics started to be only sold in comic stores. Some people like that. To me, when they started doing that, that was a sign of the death knell of the fun of going to a drugstore or a 7-Eleven and getting comics. Now there were certain comics you had to go to that comic store to get, and not everybody lived near a comic store. I happened to live near a comic store, so it didn't affect me. when Micronauts went to only direct sale. When they went to direct sale, they tended to be on Baxter paper, a little bit better quality paper, and they could put a little bit more adult material in them, I guess, and they didn't have to have the UPC symbol on them. But I was not a big fan of that. I should. This is for Graphic Man. There's Gil Kane. There's Denny O'Neil. Yeah. What was I talking about? Was I talking about anything? Oh, but yeah, I just didn't like the times changing, and then all the video game, then all the video game ads started appearing in comics, and that's about when you knew it was all over as far as comic books being sold to kids, because kids were, when the Atari 2600 got to be in every home just about, and that's when comics stopped being sold to kids. And of course, the 90s, there was a big boom of horrible comics. Okay. What next? Are these really in order? What? 73s. Okay. This is honoring the good duck artist Carl Barks. They didn't put Carl Barks' name in those old Dell books, and people didn't know who it was. They just called him the good. All the fans in the 60s, they just knew there's the good artist, the good duck artist. They didn't know, and later they found out, oh, he has a name. His name is Carl Barks. But for a while, it's just like people immediately recognized his style when he did a story, and so and ultimately he became known, Carl Barks. And see here, this is just a magnificent signed and numbered edition, limited to only 1,875 copies, available in burgundy or royal blue binding. Okay, so you could get these fancy Carl Barks books and these paintings or prints. If you'd like to order some copies of The Tomb of Terror, the television show that I've created in the spirit of the Hypnotic Eye, the show I used to work on with Joe Riley, I have 34 episodes. Each one's 2 hours long, and I'll continue that sale and sell them to you for $10 each post-paid. So just tell me what episodes you want, and just contact me down below, or you could just send me the money through PayPal. PayPal at what was it? Yeah, I think it's just my name with a dot in between. Kenneth.Weinert. Well, hold on. Let me double check with my wife. I've forgotten. My mind's not too clear. Just let me know you want to order some, and I'll get you what the PayPal address is, because I'm forgetting. I can't even remember my own phone number, man. I remember my phone number from when I was a kid, but when we changed phone numbers, I can't get it down. I have to write it in my wallet. I just can't remember it. Things are just, if you've got a little money and you want some entertainment, there's Carl Barks' interview. So guy can eat. Kurt Swan, interview with Superman's main artist. Big interview with Kurt Swan, big interview with Carl Barks. Let's get Donald Trump back in office, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just tired of starving. Okay. It looks like we've got a interview with Gil Kane in this issue. I need to show this on Wednesday night. Look at this. And here's one of those comics that was only sold in comic stores, the Omega Men. Never really read it. I've got a few issues, but that's not a book I ever really read. I'm not saying it's bad. I just haven't given it a chance enough to know if it's good or bad. You can tell me all about that down below. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's not a very good art piece. It's usually the art is pretty good in here. I just saw one that was kind of awful. You gotta be kidding me, man. Where is that? Oh. Yeah. That's not very good, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you're the one that drew that. Okay. Now, where's the Gil Kane interview? I don't know. It's in here somewhere. It says it's... Well, or is it? I mean, it's a Gil Kane cover. You assume there's a Gil Kane interview. No, there's an interview with Archie Goodwin. Oh. There's just someone writing about Gil Kane past and present. On page 96. Okay, so it's a retrospective. Gil Kane, past and present. Anyway, oh, this next issue is a fantastic one. I actually bought 2 copies of this issue. This is the one where they interview William Gaines. And of course, it's a long interview. They talk about, obviously, Mad, but EC Comics, and it's just... this is a must-have issue. I mean, a lot of these issues are pretty important to own if you're a comic book fan. I don't know how you could be a comic fan and not have any issues of the Comics Journal. This is a interview with the guy that did Cerebus, the Art of Art. But this is an early example of when they had alternate covers. There's another one that you can get that you have to get 2 copies of the same magazine, and the other cover has the other side with the other squares and the COM and the JOU, so it makes a little poster. That I'm not a huge fan of that kind of marketing, because to me, when you have to buy 2 copies of the same issue, that's kind of a ripoff. Joe Kubert issue. I always pronounced this Kaniger, but I heard Shannon say Kanier the other day on, so he might be, I'm sure he's right, because he went to Joe Kubert's school for art, so I'm sure he's heard the name pronounced. It's just one of those things where, how am I supposed to know how to pronounce the name? I've seen it a million times in comics. It just, to my 8-year-old mind, I read it Kaniger, so that's how I've always pronounced it. So, how much time? We're at 109. I better be quick, man, or we're gonna run out of. Oh, this is when they brought back Squatrant, the fanzine for EC. The Golden Age Gladiator, Robert Kaniger, or Kanier. I don't know. All about the DC War Comics. If you like DC War Comics, make sure you get issue 85. Here's Don Rosa. He did, I think he's an artist I like. Anyway, I like this cover. Look at this violence. It's pretty great. In fact, I should get I should get a JPEG of this cover from mycomicshop.com and use this as the thumbnail for tonight's episode. This is 87, The Bane of Comics, Endless Fight Scenes. I always wait, like when I read Spider-Man, the 60s comics and the 70s, I would always wait. There'd be 4 pages of fights, a fight scene that usually was 4 pages. And then there'd be some exposition with Peter Parker and his friends, and that was the part I liked. I just like, okay, let's get past this fight scene because I want to get back to when, Peter Parker's furnishing his apartment, and Mary Jane's talking to him about, look how old-fashioned your records are, and it's like, I want to know about what records Peter Parker plays, how he plays, that he's into old music, and because I like it when a character is well-rounded. Because that's one of the things that they always said Marvel did over DC is their characters were more well-rounded, they had problems, and which is what Stan Lee always said, well, we got heroes with hang-ups. But to me, also, I just want to see a hero. I'd like to know what's in the record collection of Peter Parker. They never, you never get into, what Clark Kent, what records does he have? What books are on his bookshelf? That's how you decide if someone's a worthy person to hang out with. You look at their bookshelf. There's a famous John Waters quote that I won't say on this family program, but you might know that quote. But, yeah, see, they're complaining about the fight scenes. Yeah, I was never... Fight scenes, I'd rather just be people talking. There was a that's why I like that scene in the first one of the new Spider-Man movies, with this current guy that's playing Spider-Man, with Michael Keaton driving Peter Parker and his date to the prom, and Michael Keaton is actually the Vulture, and as he's giving Peter Parker a ride, he's starting to realize this guy is Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's realizing this guy's the Vulture, but they have to be friendly to each other. They can't start fighting in the middle of the car with his daughter. That's great stuff. And there was one issue, and I think it was one of the Ultimate Spider-Man books. It was like a Ultimate Marvel team-up, where it's like Spider-Man and the X-Men team up, and you think, okay, there's going to be big fight scenes, but instead it's I loved it. It was all on the food court of a mall, and Spider-Man's there with Mary Jane, and the X-Men are there just, eating their Chick-fil-A or whatever, and shooting the shit with each other, and Wolverine realizes that this guy's Spider-Man because he can smell that this is Spider-Man, and so he's kind of effing with Peter Parker, and Peter Parker's kind of like, I don't want him knowing who I am, and it's like, obviously he knows, and it's like, and they're, it's like, well, what's it like to be an X-Men? That's fascinating to me. I want more of that instead of just the fight scenes. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. I've been told that. Anyway, this is Comics Journal 88. Should these comics be sold to children? Which ones are they talking about here? Jonah Hex. Well, I bought that as a child. It didn't work me too much, but I was aware that that was a pretty extreme comic. I never read Saber, Badger, Ronin. Ronin is what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was based on. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was, when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, this is a parody of Ronin mixed with the X-Men. And it's like, it's just looks like a fan-made nerdy thing. And that's why I never picked it up. American Flag is definitely not a kid-friendly book. I never read Dreadstar. Vigilante, I remember reading it. I don't remember it. It was all right. Twisted Tales was in a salute to EC Comics. And I was, man. Should it be sold to kids? There was some stuff in there, probably not. But it wasn't sold to kids. It was only sold in comic stores. None of these, the only one of these books that actually was in convenience stores like 7-Eleven was Jonah Hex. All the rest of these were comics distributed straight to comic stores. And so, but of course they would sell those books to kids. They weren't, they certainly would. Yeah, making a big deal about Squatron being back. What a beautiful ad. Okay, let me get to a Will Eisner interview. The cool thing about this time period, late 70s, early 80s, a lot of the great creators were still around and could still tell their story. And no one had ever sat these great people down for long, long talks. And, Horror Mike, one of the people here on YouTube, the great people here on YouTube, interviewed a lot of the horror, or the people that did the pre-code horror comics in the early 50s. He sat down and found them, interviewed them on film, and he made a documentary. And I keep saying, do you have outtakes? I mean, I want to see the whole interview instead of just a little bit of it, because what you've got is something completely historic. And of course, they give you every word that they said in the entire interview. And, the more, I just think it's so important historically, because that's what I think I am, as an historian. And to me, this is like the hotel here is partly a museum of popular culture. Here's an interview with Al Williamson, one of the great artists. Of course, his work goes back to the EC days. Okay, let me keep going. Here's a special if this runs out of, I only have a limited amount of space on my phone to film these episodes, and if I run out, if the episode just abruptly ends, that's because I never know how long it's going to let me go. But here's a issue about underground comics. I'll just continue wherever I was, and on the next episode. But when the next episode will be, I don't know. I may not even see you guys again until Wednesday. On the Four Color Fossils show. And Micah will be back. Graphic Man is back on September 13th, Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Central. Will be the return of the creator of the Four Color Fossils show. Micah will be back. I think I took over for 5 or 6 weeks during the summer while he recovered, and he's back in great health, and that'll be fun. This is about New Wave Comics, which is kind of like the 80s version of underground comics. Okay. I'm trying to move quick because I want to find the Dave Stevens issue. Oh, and I got to show you something. The other day I showed Fangoria magazines, and I said, I'm missing one. The issue, the Creep Show issue, and I found it in another box. See, and here is where the kitchen should be, but I've got all these boxes stacked up because where this is where the stove and oven should be, and this is where the refrigerator should be, but I've got it stacked up with boxes until such a time as we are able to buy those items. This is the Fangoria I was missing, the Creep Show issue, where the cockroaches are coming out of E.G. Marshall's face, and I found a Starlog, but I didn't do the Starlog episode yet, so I guess that's okay. Okay, and again, there's the Man-Thing box that Jambo sent me. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, I got distracted by that. Remember Super Sugar Crisp? This is my collection of part of my collection of old radios. I don't know if I've ever shown that. At least I haven't shown it since we moved here. I probably showed it back when we lived in Texas. Pretty sure.